and then we hit the double. Everything up until now, based on the hits that I've taken, the players that I've been considering getting in, were all leading up to a double game week. So here we hit game week 22, and because I now had 2 transfers in the bank, I could get in Spurs players and West Ham players and have a few more double game week players. Based on form, I got rid of Hazard and I got in Ali. I now know it probably should have gone to Son. He did slightly better during those couple of game weeks and beyond. I effectively just went for Ali because I like to try and keep my team in their price brackets, and Ali was more expensive, and knowing that I would probably want to go back to somebody around Ali's price, that's effectively why I did that. He did score a goal, so he didn't exactly do too badly for me. And I sold Richarlison for Arnautovic, which was okay, it wasn't bad. I think Arnautovic got an assist. It was later that Arnautovic transfer paid off. It wasn't a great game week, to be honest, but 48 points was above the average, and it was enough to see me again move up the ranks with a smallish green arrow, so I can't complain. Now, giddy from all the green arrows and, moving so high up the ranks, this is where I took leave of my senses. This is where I decided to be proactive rather than reactive. It was time to start getting players in I thought would be good going forward. Instead of looking backwards and jumping on informed players quite so much, it was time to start thinking about the players that might hit form. So my strategy was now starting to change a little bit, be it confidence breeds confidence, because I was feeling more confident about my team and my points. I don't know, or whether it was just that it was this new mentality of I'm having much more fun with the game now. This is feeling much more like, a game and something I enjoy. So let's just do transfers that I find enjoyable. And effectively, I needed to get rid of Rooney. He wasn't doing well. 2 Everton players was not doing great up front. I needed to start to look forward. As you can imagine, I looked at your Firminos and Lacazette's. Morata, who wasn't doing so well again. So I took a -4. Thinking of form, possibly not so much, but a little bit. Mostly thinking of fixtures, and a very large news bulletin that said that Jesus was going to be out for a long time made me pretty much think, right, here we go. Aguero, more nailed on. Let's get him in the team. He's got good fixtures. Let's give him a shot. We all know how much I love Aguero, and it felt like it was the right time to finally get him in my team. So that's what I did. In order to facilitate that risky move, which turned out to be one of my best of the season so far, I had to drop Ali down. I had to. He was just too expensive, and that whole placeholder thing went a little bit out the window. And I moved Ali to an informed Lingard, which gave me just enough cash to do Rooney to Aguero, and I'm very glad that I did. The Lingard side of the deal hasn't really paid off. I'm not sure that Ali's really been smashing it either, but Lingard really has gone off the boil. However, that Aguero move from Rooney has just paid dividends, really. However, it was holding on to Arnautovic when a lot of other people in this game week had just got rid because they were fed up of West Ham players, or they wanted to buy other players, that seen me the best off this game week. And that was because Arnautovic got me 16 points with a goal and an assist. So that was fantastic. Salah being as consistent as he has been all season with 11 points. And captaining Kane again, which was very risky, definitely paid off because he managed to do it again and he grabbed me 16 points. So effectively, I got myself 72 points if you consider the -4 hit, and that was still well above the average. By now, I am tantalisingly close to the top 1 mil. Now I can smell it. Now I can touch it. It's right there, and I'm doing everything I can to go for it. with a great team lineup, no need to worry about anything. There was no point to take any hits for game week 23. The only thing I decided to do was it looked like Wilson was starting to hit form again. He was starting to provide goals for Bournemouth, and suddenly the player I had bought in earlier on in the season that hadn't been doing so great was starting to look like the person I wanted in my team at the beginning of the season. So I decided to use my 1-4 transfer to go Calvert-Lewin to Wilson, because by this point Calvert-Lewin just wasn't playing at all. It didn't necessarily pay off for game week 24. Holding on to Arnautovic was brilliant. He managed to get me that assist, but possibly my second best thing so far this season, besides buying Aguero in, who wasn't exactly an informed player at the time, was deciding to captain him for this game week. He was up against Newcastle. He'd had a great record in previous times against Newcastle. My whole premise of getting him in the week before was probably so that I could captain him for this game week. I don't really like putting my captaincy on a player that hasn't been doing great, and an assist the week before, it was risky. I'm not going to lie, it was risky, but I had a great feeling, and there is a lot to be said for gut feeling in FPL. I lost a lot of that gut feeling early on in the season, be it confidence, be it enjoying it more, whatever it was. For some reason, it was telling me, go with Aguero this game week. And boy, was I grateful I did, because he repaid me with a Aguero hat-trick. Aguero. You know, he tells us it's a hat-trick, and we listen to Aguero when he tells us it's a hat-trick. So we take it, and I was very happy, because really, other than Kane and Jones, nobody else really did a whole lot for my team. But that hat-trick, it skyrocketed me. Now I'm in the top mill. I've made it. I'm finally there. It's taken me all season, but it was my man Aguero, one of my favourite players. I'm not a Man City fan, as you guys know, but yeah, he managed to take me into the top mill. So there was some sort of poetic feeling about that. It was really great, and it was that kind of 20 above average again, like over a couple of weeks, that just pushed my rank up and got me into the top mill and another green arrow. And so it was time to try and take that confidence forward a little bit. After game week 24, my only real problem in my team was an injured Arnautovic. I was starting to get a little bit worried that Wilson was starting to do the same thing as he did earlier on in the season, and just completely troll me. Every time I get him in, he goes missing again. So I was getting a little bit worried about that, but I wasn't willing to jump just yet on that. He had good fixtures. So it's mainly just a replacement for Arnautovic, and I was blank. I was struggling. I'd looked at Shaqiri, I looked at Choupo-Moting, I considered Zaha, Sacco, Milivojevic. None of those did I find interesting whatsoever. The only person that I could think of that I really thought about, that I wanted in my team, was Theo. By this point, Theo had gone to Everton in the transfer. He hadn't done a whole lot previously, maybe I think it was an assist, but I just had been watching him and he looked exciting. He was getting forward, and I discussed it over with some people like at FPL Guidance and at FPL Fly, and I was saying I want to try and keep that price, you know, that little bracket there at the moment, in that price range, because that's what I like to do. I like to have price holders, and Walcott and Shaqiri were the only ones really that would keep it in that price bracket, but I wasn't quite feeling Shaqiri. Loads of people were going Shaqiri and I was really nervous, but it was time to be pre-active again, like I was with Aguero. And so I decided just to brave it and go with my gut, and I went with Theo, and it paid off massively, because Theo went nuts and he got 2 goals. And I did the Theo thing as well, considering a slight kind of Sanchez move in mind for the coming game weeks. but that hasn't really happened or come to fruition yet. But, keeping that price holder there definitely worked out. The other thing that worked out this game week was holding on to Wilson and just kind of waiting for him to come back to form. Definitely helped because he ended up getting me 12 points, so that was massive in my aid. I could have done better with my captaincy choice, but I took the risk on Aguero again. Thankfully, he nabbed me a little something, so it was kind of starting to feel like as long as your captain gets you a little something and everyone else does okay, then it's gonna help effectively. But it was that Theo move that was probably my third most inspired moment of the season so far, getting him in when others just didn't even consider him. Definitely a great pun, and it moved me up the ranks. I mean, now I'm looking at 700,000 something, rather than, lower 900,000s millionth place, so now it's starting to feel like I've got a grasp of the game again. So after that game week, there wasn't really any need for me to make any changes ahead of game week 26. Aware that we're in the transfer window or around the transfer window, lots of new people have come into the Premier League, and I wanted to keep an eye on these players first before investing in them effectively. So it was good here to just say nothing really needs to be done. Let's just take a step back and roll a transfer. And so we arrived at game week 26, last game week, and my first red arrow in several game weeks. Not quite enough to push me back out of the 1 millionth, thankfully. So I got to try my best not to let that happen now that I'm here. But it was just effectively down to the wrong captain choice. That is pretty much what last game week came down to. I decided to give Aguero the hat-trick of armbands. Didn't quite pay off. Was hoping his previous form against Burnley would work out for me like it did for Newcastle, but it didn't. And so he only got me 2 points. I have to admit, I only really considered Kane other than Aguero, and Kane, although whilst he did get 4 more points and would have seen me exactly on average this game week, he didn't exactly smash it out of the park like Salah did, and it was Salah captainers that really gained from the last game week. That and the people who had Jones and Alonso who didn't turn up having lucky punts on the bench, let's say, who came in for those. So yeah, it was a red arrow. Yes, I was below average with 39 points to the average of 43, but I'm not quite feeling like I need to worry too much about the lineup of my team, because this is the stage in the season now where everything changes. Now we've got to consider navigating the blank game weeks, the double game weeks. We've got to look at the new players that have come into the Premier League. And so right now I'm not feeling like I need to -8 like I did previous on in the season. Maybe that's because I'm much higher up. But I'm also considering that there's a bank game week in a couple of weeks, and I've got 2 full transfers, and I really need to be thinking about rolling those if I can. So that's kind of the main aim for the coming game week. So let's take a quick look at how I plan to line up for that. The Spurs versus Liverpool match was bonkers. I think we're going to have to kind of wait and see if there's any retrospective action on Kane. I highly doubt it. So Kane will be in my team versus Arsenal because he always scores against us, which is, annoying. But it's good to have him in your FPL team. Whether I can quite muster up the fact to captain, that goes both ways. If he scores against your team and you have him in FPL, it doesn't hurt quite as bad. But at the same time, I'm quite liking Salah for the captaincy this coming game week, so it will probably stay on him. I think Southampton have managed to keep some clean sheets. We were discussing that on the FPL Journal pod. Yeah, it will most likely stay on him. Now I have to try and consider the blank game weeks, which at the moment we know the only teams playing in that blank game week, in game week 31 I believe it is Stoke, Liverpool, Everton and Watford. If I can dead end my team, which is a term that Who Got the Assist boys came up with, so check them out, which effectively just means that you're trying to get as many of the game week players in that we know will play that game week, whilst getting out some of the players that will blank. So I'm in a little bit of a difficult position because I'm thinking I would quite like Aubameyang for Aguero, but we don't know that Aubameyang is going to play in that blank game week yet, so that feels like a possible sideways move. Kabasele is in a team that will be playing in that blank game week, but he's done badly and he's now injured, so maybe I should think about transferring him to somebody different. Hasn't exactly done brilliantly for me. Rubens Loftus-Cheek is, yeah, wow, he's been red for weeks now and I've been needing to get him out of my team, but there's nobody in that 4.5, 4.6, which is what I'd have for a straight swap for him. He was part of a Sanchez plan where Aguero would go down and where Rubens Loftus-Cheek would go up to a Sanchez if I decided to get him in. But at the moment, I haven't really seen the form that figures the price for Sanchez. So until that happens, I don't really want to go with that tactic just yet. Plus, you know, we don't know that Man United won't blank in that game week. So undecided is definitely where I am right now. So any suggestions, please leave me some in the comments below or send me a message on Twitter. I would love to hear it. But I am definitely keeping an eye on Deulofeu. I think he will be, hopefully he'll be playing in that, you know, in that blank game week because Watford have a game there. He's looking attacking, he looks fresh, he looks hungry, and I'm considering maybe putting him in for Lingard, which would free up a bit of cash that I need to maybe make the Rubens Loftus-Cheek transfer, seeing as I would still have 2 free transfers left. So that's definitely a consideration at the moment. Other than that, it really is selling Courtois because Chelsea have been terrible at the back. But then it's thinking about what lower priced keeper I would like in the team to carry me on for a good few game weeks. So lots to think about. As I say, pop me a comment below if there's something you think would considerably help me out. But this is how it's lined up at the moment, and I would effectively have a free transfer to make this game week. So let me know. And so that's it. You guys are up to date. Now, I'd love to just do a quick summary of what I've learned. You've seen me go from the bottom to, you know, all the way up into the top million in 8 or so game weeks. So I would love to just share some points that I've noticed as I've gone along the way, and hopefully they'll help you out going forward. So here's what I learned. Don't be scared of hits. I don't advocate them, but don't be scared of them. If it allows you to get in a play you like, that improves your squad, that gives you money that you need for further changes, they are in form or you think they're about to hit form, they have good fixtures that you can make that -4 back over a number of weeks, then it may just well be worth it. There is a big if here. Try not to chase if you can really help it. If you think that player is going to continue on that form week after week after week, say Sanchez now starts playing and he's doing really great and he's looking dangerous, then yeah, by all means do it. Use that -4 to get him in. But if this is a punt, this is a real punt, and you're not going to keep them for weeks and weeks and weeks, really consider that that minus point is going to pay you back in the amount of time that you want to use them for. In other words, don't jump on a bandwagon for the sake of it if you can help it. For instance, I could have jumped on the Shaqiri bandwagon and decided to go with Walcott instead, and thankfully that paid off in my favour. So always ask yourself the top Fab 5 Fs. 1, are they in form? Number 2, do they have good fixtures, or at least do they have good form in previous fixtures? So the reverse fixtures of those game weeks. Number 3, will you keep them for around about 4 to 5 game weeks? If so, they have the chance of paying you back your minus points. Number 4, do you have the funds? Are you really squeezing out your funds for your team if you buy that player? Don't leave yourself short. But if getting that player allows you to get in players you're looking at for the future, so it allows you to make a future transfer for free, then by all means consider it. And number 5, does it fab up your team? If it fabs up your team, you're happy with it, you're confident with it, it makes you feel more excited, then what else is there, not to love? You do get a bit wrapped up sometimes and forget that FPL is just a game. It feels like much more to a lot of us. But at the end of the day, you've got to enjoy it. And if a -4 getting in a player that really makes you think, yes, I'm so glad I've got this player in my team, then why not? You enjoyed it for that game week, and that's all that matters. And then the only other thing that I've learned that I think is more or less universally known, it's the right captain choice. I've been very lucky in all of those game weeks that I picked the right captain. Last game week, for instance, shows that getting the captaincy wrong makes a massive difference to your OR. Do not feel pressured into captaining somebody for the sake of it. I felt like everyone would say, oh, you can't not have Aguero in your team and captain him against Burnley and things like that if I put it out there that I didn't want to captain him this game week. That was wrong of me. I did kind of feel like it was the wrong choice. I told you that a little bit earlier. I felt like Kane was probably the better choice. I probably should have just listened to my gut and gone with what felt right for myself. So I was definitely a little bit guilty of that. So try not to get caught up in all the anger on the social media if you do have a stronger feeling in another direction. I don't have the magic formula for the captaincy pick. I'm afraid nobody does. We all like to think we do, or that we would find it, but unfortunately nobody has that formula. All that I will say, and something that's got me through all of these game weeks, besides gut feeling and all of the previous form that these players have done, is that if you're struggling with your captaincy choice, stick with the captaincy majority. Because that way, if you fail, they fail, it's hopefully not going to be as damaging to your overall score that way. So if you can have a good look on some of the websites that do all these polls, at FPL Connect's a really good one. He does a captaincy poll every week. Have a good look at what people are thinking, what the majority might be for that game week. And if you really can't decide, try and stick with the majority. Because that way, as I said, you fail, they fail. You win, they win. It's not going to get you massive gains, but it keeps you with the pack and it keeps you going till next game week where maybe somebody else does stick out for you. And to be honest, those people are usually going with good form and good fixtures, and 9 out of 10 of the time it's going to see you well. And so finally I've come to the end of the video. That's it, that's everything. I just want to say thank you for sticking with me. I know it was a long one. I did consider doing it in a live, but there was so much information. I was worried I wouldn't have enough time to kind of stick with you guys and go through questions that you might be asking me and stuff at the same time. But hopefully once I'm all better, my throat's healed, I'll hopefully be able to do a live and we can chat over what I've been doing and how I've done it. And yeah, I would just ask, please don't forget to like, subscribe. Subscribing is really important now for us YouTubers. We need to get over 1,000 subscribers before YouTubers will really consider us. So please, please, please subscribe, contribute and comment. And as always, you guys are fabulous. Thanks for watching. Nymphrey out.